Diddy Combs trial starting with the music mogul's former assistant, Capricorn Clark, taking the stand.
The entertainment industry just witnessed something nobody saw coming. While the world watched Diddy's legal troubles unfold, what emerged wasn't just about one man's alleged crimes. It was about an entire system built on silence, control, and fear. A machine that's been running for decades, crushing anyone who dared to speak out. What started as whispers in courtrooms has exploded into testimonies that are shaking Hollywood to its core. Names you thought you could trust, faces you've seen on every red carpet, people you've admired for years, all connected to a web of manipulation that goes deeper than anyone imagined. The mask is finally slipping, and what's underneath is more disturbing than the wildest conspiracy theories ever suggested.
Amber, what's really going on?
I don't know.
You ain't never been invited to these Hollywood parties?
I've been to probably everyone. I've been to every puff party. I've been to every white party since 2009.
For years, people wondered how certain celebrities stayed on top while others just vanished without explanation. The answer wasn't talent or luck, it was compliance. The entertainment industry operates like an exclusive club with unwritten rules that everyone follows, whether they want to or not. Here's how it really works. They don't recruit you because of your talent alone. They recruit you because they can control you. First comes the invitation. Always casual, always friendly. A party here, a meeting there, connections that seem too good to be true. Because they usually are. Once you're in, the favors start small. Skip this interview, sign this contract, smile for this photo. Nothing that seems harmful at first, but each favor creates a debt, and each debt makes you more dependent on their approval. Before you know it, your entire career exists at their mercy. The truly chilling part? They document everything. Every party, every meeting, every moment of weakness, not for memories, but for leverage. Because the moment you try to leave or speak out, those files become weapons. This isn't about music or movies anymore. It's about power and the price people pay to keep it. Jamie Foxx's mysterious health scare in 2023 wasn't just a medical emergency. According to sources close to the investigation, it was the moment that cracked open decades of silence about how the industry really operates. Foxx had been distancing himself from certain circles for months before his hospitalization. People close to him noticed changes in his behavior, his career choices, even his public appearances. He seemed to be pulling back from opportunities that would have been automatic yeses in previous years. Then came the medical emergency that nobody could explain. A man known for his physical fitness and healthy lifestyle suddenly collapsed on set. The official story was vague, the details kept private, and Foxx himself remained silent about what actually happened. But here's what sources are now revealing. In the weeks leading up to his hospitalization, Foxx had been receiving pressure to participate in projects and events that made him uncomfortable. When he continued to refuse, the pressure escalated. Phone calls became threats. Suggestions became demands. The timing wasn't coincidental. Foxx's health crisis happened right after he'd started asking questions about things he'd witnessed years earlier. Events that had been eating at him, relationships that had never felt right, situations that he'd stayed quiet about for the sake of his career. During his recovery, something changed. The Jamie Foxx who emerged seemed different, more cautious, more careful about his public statements. Some people noticed. They started asking questions. Why was he avoiding certain topics? Why did he seem nervous during interviews? Why were his appearances so carefully managed? The clone theories weren't just internet speculation. They were people trying to make sense of a man who seemed like he was performing his own life instead of living it.
This whole trial making my head itch. Hold on. So you made how much a year? P. Diddy's assistant said she made $56,000 a year. And he made you take how many lie detector tests to make sure you weren't stealing? Bitch, I would have stole the jewelry too. I would have stole everything. I ain't living. $56,000. You must have meant monthly. Got to be, because there's no way in hell you endured all that pain for $56,000. Let me tell you something. As soon as he would have said that was my salary, I would have said, you have a good day. A blessed one, you oily bitch. I promise I would have went off on him. You ain't finna threaten me for months, years, and then tell me I only get $56,000? And then you wanted me to witness a murder, bitch? She talking about the damn fire. The marshals called. Talking about did they see the damn car get set on fire? I would have told on everybody. Yes, sir. And he used Crisco. Yeah, he did. He poured it all over his car. Set that bitch on fire, sir. Please come help all of us. He finna kill all of us. You ain't saying nothing for $56,000 a year. Ho, I'm talking for $20 in a crab boil, bitch, please. Y'all just let that man do whatever the fuck y'all wanted him to do to y'all, cause ain't no way. Hell to the no. Yeah, let a celebrity come my way talking about, yeah, you gonna do what the fuck I say. Who? Give a damn how much power you got and how many people you can make disappear. Voila, bitch, I'm your karma hoe. You going down. 56, bitch, and then you got on the stand and told it with a straight face. I would have said him, I would have pointed at him with all my fucking fingers. That nigga right there. Him right there, he the one did it. Hell yeah, I meant to tell y'all 10 years ago, but shit. No, ma'am.
While Diddy dominated headlines, investigators uncovered something that made his alleged crimes look like just the tip of the iceberg. The real power doesn't come from the names you see on magazine covers, it comes from the ones you don't. Industry insiders describe a network of handlers, fixers, and power brokers who've been operating in the shadows for decades. These aren't the executives with corner offices or the agents making deals. These are the people who decide which deals get made in the first place. Court documents reveal how this system actually functions. Young artists get assigned mentors who present themselves as guidance counselors and career advisors. But these relationships aren't about nurturing talent. They're about psychological conditioning, teaching compliance through what victims describe as training sessions, disguised as networking events. The methods are sophisticated and deliberate. They isolate targets from their original support systems, replacing family and friends with industry insiders who share the same agenda. They create financial dependency through contracts that seem generous, but contain clauses that make leaving nearly impossible. Most disturbing of all, they use recorded material as insurance policies. Every compromising moment, every mistake, every vulnerable confession gets filed away. Not destroyed, not forgotten, but cataloged for future use. When victims try to speak out, they don't just lose jobs. They lose everything. Their reputations get destroyed through carefully planted stories. Their health gets questioned. Their sanity gets attacked. All while the perpetrators maintain plausible deniability. What the public saw as glamorous celebrity gatherings were actually sophisticated vetting operations. These events served multiple purposes, none of them as innocent as they appeared. First, they were recruitment drives. Up-and-coming artists would get invited to what they thought were networking opportunities. They'd arrive expecting to make connections and further their careers. Instead, they'd find themselves in situations designed to test their boundaries and measure their compliance. The events followed a predictable pattern. Phones confiscated at the door, always for privacy reasons. Guest lists kept secret, even from many of the attendees. Security that seemed more interested in keeping people in than keeping others out. What happened at these gatherings wasn't random. It was orchestrated. Alcohol and substances flowed freely, but not equally. Some people got stronger drinks than others. Some people found themselves in situations they couldn't remember clearly the next day. The most disturbing aspect was the documentation. Hidden cameras captured everything, but guests were never told they were being recorded. These weren't security measures, they were insurance policies. Evidence that could be used later to ensure silence and compliance. Artists who attended these events described feeling like they were being evaluated, tested, processed. Not celebrated, not welcomed, but examined. Like they were auditioning for something they didn't understand, with stakes they couldn't see. Those who passed the tests got opportunities. Record deals, movie roles, endorsement contracts that seemed too good to be true because they came with invisible strings attached. Those who failed or refused to participate found their careers stalling in ways that seemed coincidental, but followed suspicious patterns. Meetings got canceled, projects got postponed, collaborators became unavailable, all without any official explanation. When Cassie Ventura finally spoke publicly about her experiences, she didn't just expose one man's alleged crimes. She revealed an entire system of control that had been operating for decades. Her testimony described a relationship that started as romance but quickly became something much darker. Control disguised as care, monitoring disguised as protection, isolation disguised as exclusive access. But the most shocking revelations weren't about the personal relationship. They were about the business operations that surrounded it, how other artists were brought into similar situations, how the recording and documentation served purposes beyond personal gratification. Cassie described events where she witnessed other celebrities in compromising situations, often without their knowledge or consent. She talked about files and recordings that were organized and stored like business documents. She explained how this material was used to maintain control over multiple people simultaneously. Her courage in speaking out didn't just expose past crimes. It gave other victims permission to come forward with their own stories. And those stories revealed a pattern that went far beyond any single relationship or any single perpetrator. Multiple sources began describing similar experiences with different people in the industry. The same methods, the same psychological tactics, the same systems of documentation and control, all connected to the same network of power brokers who'd been operating with impunity for years. The legal proceedings that followed weren't just about seeking justice for individual victims. They were about dismantling an entire apparatus of control that had been corrupting the industry from within. As more victims found their voices, a disturbing picture emerged of how deep this system actually reached. It wasn't just about entertainment industry figures. It was about politicians, business leaders, media executives, and others who'd been compromised through the same methods. The blackmail material wasn't just used to control artists. It was used to influence decisions across multiple industries. Who got funding for projects, which stories got covered by the media, which politicians received support or opposition. This network operated like a shadow government within the entertainment world, making decisions that affected millions of people without any accountability or oversight. They determined not just what content got produced, but what messages got promoted, what values got celebrated, what voices got heard. The most chilling aspect was how normalized it had become. People who'd been in the industry for decades described these practices as just how things work. The corruption had become so embedded that many people couldn't imagine the industry functioning any other way. But as the legal proceedings continued and more evidence emerged, it became clear that this wasn't an inevitable part of doing business. It was a deliberate system created by specific people for specific purposes. And those purposes had nothing to do with creating art or entertaining audiences. They were about accumulating power and maintaining control over some of the most influential platforms in modern society, using entertainment as a weapon to shape culture and silence dissent. The system that had operated in darkness for so long finally met its match when victims realized they weren't alone. What had felt like isolated incidents were actually part of a coordinated campaign of abuse and control. Social media allowed survivors to connect with each other in ways that weren't possible before. They discovered that their experiences weren't unique, their abusers weren't acting independently, and their silence wasn't protecting them anymore. The Me Too movement had already changed how society viewed these issues, but what emerged from the entertainment industry was something even more sinister. This wasn't just about individual predators, it was about institutional corruption that had been protected by powerful people with significant resources. Legal teams began coordinating their efforts, sharing evidence and witness testimony that painted a picture of systematic abuse spanning multiple decades. Law enforcement agencies that had previously treated these as isolated incidents began investigating them as organized criminal enterprises. The breakthrough came when technology experts discovered that the blackmail material had been stored digitally and backed up across multiple locations. Servers that the perpetrators thought were secure turned out to be accessible to federal investigators with proper warrants. What they found wasn't just evidence of individual crimes, it was proof of conspiracy, racketeering, and organized criminal activity that crossed state lines and involved multiple jurisdictions. The legal consequences are still unfolding, but the cultural impact is already irreversible. The industry can never go back to operating the way it did before. Too many people know too much, and too many victims have found their voices. What's happening now isn't just about seeking justice for past crimes. It's about preventing future ones by dismantling the systems that made them possible in the first place. New legislation is being proposed to increase transparency in entertainment industry contracts and business practices, Advocacy groups are being formed to support victims and prevent future abuse. Technology companies are being pressured to do more to prevent the distribution of non-consensual intimate material. But the most important change might be cultural. Young artists entering the industry now have access to information and resources that previous generations didn't have. They know what warning signs to look for, what questions to ask, and what rights they have. The power structure that seemed unbreakable just a few years ago is already showing cracks. Executives are being forced to resign, companies are changing their policies, and investors are demanding better oversight of the projects they fund. The victims who spoke out despite the personal cost to themselves didn't just seek justice for their own experiences. They created a blueprint for holding powerful people accountable even when they seem untouchable. This story isn't over. More victims are finding their voices every day. More evidence is being uncovered through ongoing investigations. More connections are being made between seemingly separate incidents. The entertainment industry that emerges from this reckoning won't be perfect, but it will be different. The days of unlimited power without accountability are ending, and the people who built their careers on exploitation and control are finally facing consequences. The silence that protected this system for so long has been broken permanently, and once that silence is gone, it can never be restored. What we're witnessing isn't just the downfall of individual predators, it's the collapse of an entire apparatus of control that corrupted one of the most influential industries in the world. The ripple effects will be felt for years to come, but for the first time in decades, those effects might actually serve justice instead of covering it up.